The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show. Thanks for tuning in to the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM. If you're interested in sponsoring my show, you can send me an email to the MikeWagnerShow@gmail.com, or you could also donate to the podcast. Just go to the Donate Listen site, and you can also donate whatever you like. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. For those who are interested, Anchor can give you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. We got creation tools, allows you to record and edit podcasts so it sounds great, and they'll distribute the podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere. Spotify, Apple, Google, many more. And you can make money from the podcast with no minimum listenership. So download the Anchor app for free or go to Anchor FM to get started.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen over 35 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, as well as Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And we're here with the wonderful gentleman who's in the weed field as well too, and he is the founder, editor, and publisher of Weed Week and the author of Weed Week's Guide to the California Cannabis Industry. He also reported on fracking, healthcare, tech, and finance. He appeared on Slate, Fast Company, Quartz, The Washington Post, Mother Jones, The Atlantic, Business Week, New Yorker, and many, many more, and talking about the key problems facing the cannabis industry and how savvy people in weed are thinking about them, and legalization and more as well, too. So live, ladies and gentlemen, right here in Los Angeles, we have the expert in cannabis, ladies and gentlemen, the publisher of Weed Week, Alex Halperin. Alex, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's great as well, too. And, of course, if this was 420 as well, too, just want to say happy 420 in advance as well. So somewhere around there, yeah.
During the quarantine, it's always 420.
Yes, that's right. And, of course, we'll talk about that as well, too. So you're the founder, editor, and publisher of Weed Week and the author of Weed Week's Guide to the California Cannabis Industry. You also report on fracking, healthcare, tech, and finance. You appeared in Slate, Fast Company, Quartz, Washington Post, and many, many more. And before we get into all that, tell us how I got started.
So I was living in New York and as a freelance business reporter, and weed wasn't really a part of my life. This was in 2014 or so. But Fast Company sent me to MJ BizCon, which then was sort of the big industry event in Las Vegas. And there were about 3,500 people there. This was in November 2014. And I thought, this is an amazing story. I should cover this. And nobody was really covering it. So I moved to Denver not too long after that, which was then the center of sort of the legal weed world, and started reporting and started writing a newsletter called Weed Week. And it has sort of swallowed my life since there.
Or put you up in smoke, they say here. So
Indeed.
Yes, that's right. And was at one moment that influence into writing, in other words, the aha moment where it says, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
To be a writer?
Yes.
Oh, man. I've just always loved telling stories, telling true stories, really. And the cannabis industry interested me so much because it touches on so many of the major fault lines in American life. And at the same time, a lot of people don't take it seriously. So there's a lot of stories that nobody else is looking at. So that made it a pretty interesting opportunity as well, because it's, in addition to being a pastime, it's arguably the fastest growing industry in America. And just, right now, Americans are buying about $12 billion worth of legal cannabis products a year. That's roughly twice as much as they're spending on Netflix. And cannabis is only legal in a fairly limited, medical is legal in about 35 states, but the number of states with functional markets is much smaller than that. So it's a huge industry, and it's just getting started, really.
Mm-hmm. And why has legalization been so difficult, and what problems weed faces in the COVID context?
Oh, well, so legalization is so hard because it's been happening. It's essentially the same story happening in every state capital and Washington, D.C. So like when a state legalizes, they have the same arguments over edibles and over taxes, and they have them again and again. And in D.C., these arguments are even further behind. And then within the COVID context, the industry has had to deal with the same issues that just about every other industry has had to deal with, except that they're not eligible for COVID-related relief from the federal government. Even me, as somebody who has a marijuana media company who doesn't sell or touch the plant, I haven't been eligible for COVID-related relief. However, in most states, the industry has been, where it's legal, the industry has been designated essential. And in an industry that's always looking for some sort of validation or legitimization, that's been a really big step. And the big question is whether that's going to accelerate legalization. And some people think it will, just because states are so hard up for taxes now that they look at weed and think, wow, maybe we can make some money that way.
Mm-hmm. And what is the best way to legalize?
The best way to legalize?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly. A lot of people would tell you that California, which is the biggest market, not only in the country, but in the world, has the worst way to legalize. So some of the issues here are that counties and cities have a lot of control over what kinds of businesses they're going to allow. So most Californians, I don't know most Californians, but a lot of Californians don't have access to shops in their communities. Another issue is that the illegal market remains a powerful force. And because they don't have to deal with taxes or regulatory costs, they can sell for a lot less than legal businesses. So the legal businesses, it's funny, they really want the cops to crack down, but that hasn't happened quite as quickly as they'd like. And the illegal market remains larger than the legal market here.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny too. I remember back in the day that before prohibitions hit as well too, where tobacco back before prohibition was illegal and marijuana was legal. Then all of a sudden prohibition hit, where it's like they turned it around, where they made tobacco legal and marijuana illegal, and they also made alcohol illegal as well too, and that turned into like a crime syndicate. And it seemed to me that it started a war right there, and it was just really strange. During the prohibition, they made marijuana illegal and tobacco legal, and it was the other way around.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of parallels with alcohol prohibition and legalization in the 30s, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And of course, too, how the industry is adapted to a pandemic. And of course, we got more as well, too. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and over 35 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with the founder, editor, and publisher of Weed Week and the author of Weed Week's Guide to the California Cannabis Industry, Alex Halperin, here on the Mike Wagner Show. He reported on fracking, healthcare, tech and finance. He appeared in Slate, Fast Company, Quartz, Washington Post, and many, many more. And, of course, you got this on sale, too, the Weed Week's Guide to the California Cannabis Industry. And tell us more about the book.
So, I mean, that's large. So we're going to be releasing that on our website for free, actually. When is this episode going to drop?
We're going to figure that out as well, too, but we'll let you know. So it's probably going to be definitely sometime in 2020. I'll tell you that. So
okay. So then the guide will be up by whenever it airs. So but yeah. So the Weed Week Guide to the California Cannabis Industry it's largely for professionals who are involved. And I talk to a lot of the executives and the operators and regulators and lawyers who are professionally involved with navigating this very complex system. And we also have some market research looking at how, when, why, and where Californians buy and consume cannabis. For folks who aren't in the industry and looking for something so professionally specific, they might want to check out a book I wrote called The Cannabis Dictionary, which they can get on Amazon. And that's sort of looking at the politics, the history, the science, and the culture of cannabis going back to ancient China, where it was first used as a medicine.
Mm-hmm. That is amazing. And go ahead. You had more to say?
Yeah, I mean, this is a plant that we all have one perception of it as sort of this stigmatized drug, and that's part of what it is. But this is also a plant that is sort of deeply entwined with human history, and I guess I try and capture some of that in this book. So it was around the Middle East in biblical times. It was hemp, sails, and ropes, powered the British Navy when it conquered the world. It's been around for a while, and you could say that cannabis and consuming cannabis arguably brought us the last 100 years of music. And I try and sort of encapsulate all of those things in sort of a dictionary format book.
That's interesting as well, too. And also it covers the history of legalization from the San Francisco AIDS crisis to the present. And how has the industry adapted to the pandemic?
So the industry has been, there have been a lot of sales because I think for pretty understandable reasons, folks have been, a lot of folks have been turning to cannabis to get them through this crisis. But stores have, of course, had to adapt to safer delivery methods. So a lot of states have allowed delivery or curbside pickup or other ways that people could purchase safely. So it's been a real challenge, but they seem to have pulled it off pretty well. But there are definitely a lot of struggling businesses out there that aren't going to make it. Mm-hmm. Because I think one of the key things a couple of the key things to understand about the cannabis industry are that while there's tremendous demand for weed, the regulations and taxes and other related situations make it very hard to run a cannabis business. And the other thing is that in the illegal market, you sort of had a product that sold itself. Like if you were in the cannabis business, all you needed to do was get the product to whoever, and people would buy it. It sold itself. But in the legal industry, you've got hundreds or thousands of brands, and it's all pretty much really good quality, at least in California. And it's hard for consumers to distinguish. So it's more of a branding game. And that's not a skill that the people in the industry, like growers or whatnot, necessarily had before. So it's going more corporate, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, that, the cannabis world celebrated the first virtual 420, and I think some of us were as well, too. And, of course, the whole significance of it, and let's hear your side of the story on why 420 was significant in the cannabis industry.
So 420 is sort of the cannabis industry's holiday. And, it's mainly these days used as a time for like product promotions, but in the past it's been a day of activism and stuff like that as well. Concerts, festivities, and this year, like everything else, it just took place online. So it was sort of like a lot of things that happen online, it was sort of a poor substitute. But one organization tried to set a world record for most people consuming simultaneously on video chat. I don't actually know if they succeeded, but I'm not sure if there was an existing world record, so probably they did succeed.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like...
And,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Concerts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also, too, that I can imagine something like that, they could try again as well, too. And, of course, having the marijuana as well, too, also in medical form, too. And also, it can be beneficial a lot of things, especially glaucoma for most people, having a history of it where it just doesn't cure it, but actually reduces it. So that's one of the benefits that I noticed. And also, they sell, the cannabis in the form of like creams, lotions, oils, and everything, as labeled as CBDs, some without the THC, just to get around the workplace laws involving, I'm just trying to think of the words, like, avoid the drug tests.
Sure. I mean, a lot of people, so applying cannabis lotions and stuff to the skin doesn't get you high, but a lot of people think that it helps with muscle pain and various other ailments. And the evidence for that is largely anecdotal rather than scientifically proven. But with a lot of these things, there's sort of a catch-22 because it's very hard to study cannabis. So it's really hard to get the credible evidence that you need to sort of prove that it works.
Mm-hmm. And of course, most companies also sell them without the THC, which also is the ingredient that gets a high factor as well too. So also a thing too is it's like, if people take it or they don't take it as well too, will they get the same effect?
Yeah. No, definitely. Again, with the topicals, it doesn't intoxicate them, whether it's CBD or THC.
Mm-hmm. And also too, I noticed that hemp was also used back in the day to make the roads as well too, and also to patch up the potholes. It was like the good alternative to asphalt.
Advocates say you can really use it for anything. There's something called hempcrete, which could be a building material, and some people think it would be a lot more environmentally friendly than cement, which is responsible for a huge amount of greenhouse emissions.
Mm-hmm.
But because hemp has been in the darkness for so long and so illegal, it's been very hard to work with. But that's beginning to change.
Mm-hmm. And how so? You think it's going to change? And what changes or what changes do you see like in 2020 and beyond, like 2021, 22, 23, 24, or maybe up to like, say, 2030?
Sure. So, look, it's very hard. Mitch McConnell, who's the Senate Majority Leader, who opposes marijuana legalization, but a lot of Kentucky hemp farmers wanted to be able to grow hemp for various purposes, whether for the CBD or for industrial uses. And he really pushed that through as part of his reelection effort this year. But he remains a roadblock, or it seems like he still remains uninterested in legalizing. His buddy John Boehner, the former Speaker of the House, is now a cannabis lobbyist, essentially. But he has yet to sell Mitch McConnell on it. But Mitch McConnell may change his mind, or he could lose his status as majority leader if the Democrats take the Senate, in which case legalization could start to happen a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm. And you also got some stories in there too, in the book as well too. Weed Week's Guide to the California Cannabis Industry. You also had some interviews with some notables as well too in the industry. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% for your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 35 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with founder, editor, and publisher of Weed Week and the author of Weed Week's Guide to the California Cannabis Industry, Alex Halperin, here on the Mike Wagner Show. And Alex, you also talked to some people in the industry as well, too. You had some interviews in the book as well, too, the Weed Week's Guide to the California Cannabis Industry. You talked to Clark Howell, the cannabis attorney, Ariel Clark, and what our clients are facing. And also, you also got some labor unions as well, like United Food and Commercial Workers. And you also got State Assembly member Reggie Jones and Legislative Relief. And also being benefits being Silicon Valley. So you can just tell us about some of those.
Yeah. So, I talked to some executives, some lawyers, some regulators. And these are all people who want the industry to succeed. These are all people who want the industry to succeed, and it's largely about how they are navigating the very unique business challenges that cannabis businesses face. So one issue, which isn't just in California but nationwide, is that there's a tax rule called a federal tax rule known as 280E. And the deal there is that sort of a cheeky drug dealer in the 70s tried to deduct his business expenses. And a tax court sort of ruled in his favor. And then in response to that, the very anti-drug Reagan-era Congress essentially made a rule that you can't deduct your taxes if you're selling a federally illegal drug. So even though that is not especially relevant to the current situation and was passed long before the current situation of sort of state-by-state legalization was envisioned, companies are still paying the penalty for that. So a dispensary is taxed at a far higher rate than a bakery or a convenience store next door to it. And that's yet another reason why it's so hard to run a profitable cannabis business. And sort of beyond that, the sort of problems vary from state to state, but they all have to do with it being very hard to run a successful business because of the drug's unusual status.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, like with interstate trade and regulations and everything else that's going out there, what states do you see that are most likely to legalize cannabis, and what states do you see are going to be the most resistant, even offering like $1 billion to change their minds?
Sure. Well, they basically are being offered $1 billion to change their mind in taxes. It looked like New York and and Connecticut were really on the brink of legalizing. They both already have medical, but it looked like they were both on the verge of legalizing rec before the pandemic happened. But, some of the more culturally conservative states are warming to this. And there's every reason to think that as state coffers are so hard hit by the pandemic, that they may turn to the plant as well. So, I think one quintessential example is Oklahoma. So Oklahoma has perhaps 10% of the population of California, and certainly a much more conservative dominant culture, but they've legalized medical marijuana, and they've made it very easy to open a dispensary and relatively inexpensive. And as a result, there are now roughly 2,000 dispensaries in Oklahoma. And
wow.
In California, there are only about 600 dispensaries.
Seriously? Just 600? Oh, my goodness. What's wrong with that
600 legal ones.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So Oklahoma is sort of forging the path here.
Mm-hmm. Now, is this the most dispensaries they have in the state, or who has more than 2,000?
I think I've heard that Oklahoma has the most per capita, except for Oregon, which is sort of by reputation a much more friendly state.
Mm-hmm. And how many dispensaries they have out there?
I don't know exactly, but slightly more per capita than Oklahoma. So probably, 2,000 to 3,000, I would guess.
Okay. And also, too, once again, we're relating to the pandemic as well, too. And would medical marijuana, curb or cure or treat the COVID-19, or is that going to have no effect whatsoever?
It is not known to have any effect. And the Food and Drug, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, actually has sent warning letters to a bunch of businesses making claims that CBD can cure or prevent COVID-19. And I think the Federal Trade Commission just sued a company that made that claim. So it's not a good idea to make those kinds of claims.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, with the economy in the current situation as well, too, and we keep talking about the pandemic as well, too, that how would the cannabis industry, start to benefit and what new opportunities do you see that's going to be growing in the cannabis industry when it comes to pandemic?
Right. Well, a lot of governments are in a really tight crunch, and in the during the Great Recession of 10 years ago, a lot of businesses turned to gambling, and now or a lot of governments turned to legalizing gambling for the tax revenue, and now they're looking for something else. So I think it could be cannabis in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, with the whole no smoking situation with tobacco, you're not allowed to smoke in certain areas. You smoke 20 feet as well, too. Is this going to apply to the cannabis industry as well, too? Or are they going to allow that, like, say, into gambling, restaurants, or anything like that?
I think the sort of no smoking rules are going to apply to cannabis generally, but, edibles don't involve any smoke. You can't really regulate that. Mm-hmm. So I think that the discreteness of edibles, and to some extent vape pens as well, that's some of the appeal. Is you can get away with it. Nobody's going to call you out for it.
Mm-hmm. And what's the last thing that you would like to say to listeners about the cannabis industry?
Well, I guess I would say that it's a real legitimate industry, but it's also an aggressive industry. They're in it to make money, and no more than any other. You could argue that legalization is good for society, and I think in a lot of ways it probably is. Certainly, I think it's good that people aren't going to jail or getting criminal records for as much for minor offenses. But the industry also needs to be regarded as something that selling a product that carries risks, and that they may not be any keener to discuss those risks than the alcohol industry is to discuss the risks associated with their product, or the tobacco industry. And they need to be, I think to regulate the industry properly, people need to take them seriously and understand what they're doing and what their goals are.
Mm-hmm. And that's very important, too. Once again, Alex Halperin, founder, editor, and publisher of Weed Week, and the author of Weed Week's Guide to the California Cannabis Industry. A big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. And lastly, just a few things before we go here. And what are your plans for 2020 and beyond when it comes to Weed Week and the Guide to California Cannabis Industry?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're at Weed Week. We're a media company devoted to covering this industry. We're an editorially independent company that covers the industry pretty aggressively, and we've got 3 newsletters and a podcast. So Weed Week California, and Weed Week Canada, and as well as the Weed Week podcast, and lots of original reporting and analysis at weedweek.net, and a good deal of it is free. So I hope folks will check them out.
Mm-hmm. And where can we find the Weed Week podcast at?
It's at weedweek.net, and we're also on Twitter and Instagram at Weed Week News.
That is fantastic. And once again, Alex Halperin, the editor and publisher of Weed Week, and also the author of the Weed Week's Guide to the Cannabis Industry. A big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Once again, tell everybody about your website, how do people contact you, and where can people purchase your books, and also check out Weed Week.
Yeah, check us out at weedweek.net. You can buy the Cannabis Dictionary on Amazon or wherever you buy books. And we're on social media at Weed Week News on Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn.
That is fantastic. Alex, again, a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep this up to date. We'll have you back on sometime in 2020 and beyond. You've been fantastic.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.